Hello and welcome back to Food and Travel by Slim. Today I have a mouth-watering jerk oxtail recipe to share with you. This oxtail has been cooked without adding any water. It is so tender, so juicy, so flavorful. You will enjoy eating this delicious jerk oxtail. Now let's get right into it. So here I have the oxtail which has been properly washed with vinegar and some salt. Now I'm going to show you the seasoning. I have 1 teaspoon salt here, 1 teaspoon seasoning salt, 1 teaspoon grounded ginger, 2 teaspoon all-purpose seasoning, 1 teaspoon jerk seasoning, 1 teaspoon onion powder, 1 teaspoon black pepper, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, 2 teaspoon paprika, and then I'm going to be adding some soy sauce and drizzling the meat with some olive oil at the end of it. So as I said, the meat has been properly washed, and so now it's just time to go ahead and season. Here I have some fresh seasoning and spices that I'll be blending together to marinate the oxtail. I have some pimento seeds, quite a bit of it because it's, jerk. And I'm using a couple cloves of garlic. I have some bell peppers, different colors, red, green, orange. I have a half of a tomato, some spring onion, just 1 stalk of that, 1 carrot. I'll be using a half of that to blend for now, 1 hot pepper. I have 1 onion, some fresh thyme, and just about an inch or so of fresh thyme. All of this I'll be throwing into the blender. I'll be blending it up and just covering the oxtail with this to marinate for about 2 hours or so. Okay, now it's time to get the oxtail cooking process going. I'm adding some olive oil to this pot on the fire here, and then I'm going to be adding some brown sugar to this oil just for the sugar to get caramelized. and that is what is gonna give the oxtail that nice brown golden color. I had only used maybe a teaspoon of the browning just to, you know, change the color a bit, because I knew I was gonna use the brown sugar to, you know, brown the oxtail and give it that authentic brown rich golden color that we all love. So here the sugar has been caramelized, and I'm adding the oxtail to that. And then once I've added all the pieces of oxtail to it, I'm just gonna be covering the pot and allow the oxtail to cook, you know, partially in its own juices. No water will be added, and then I'm just gonna be flipping the pieces of oxtail as I go along to make sure that all the sides are properly browned. So with this jerk oxtail that I'm cooking, as I said, no water will be added. So I am just browning the oxtail on the top of the stove for maybe about 20 minutes or so. And then I'm gonna be sticking that into the oven for another hour. And then, you know, that is gonna bring out the flavors. That is gonna cause, you know, everything to come together so nicely. The oxtail is gonna cook in its own juices. You know, all of the flavor is gonna be maintained, because, you know, as you know, some people, they cook the oxtail with a lot of water. They will put it in a pressure cooker and pressure it, and then by all of that time the flavor would have been lost. So that is what is so different about this jerk oxtail, just maintaining the flavor. And so I'm just gonna leave it now to cook for about 20 minutes on the stove top. So let's go in now and check what's going on. After 10 minutes, I see that the oxtail is coming on nicely, browning up nicely. So I'm just giving it a stir, a good stir, to flip those pieces of meat to make sure that they get browned evenly. So once I give it a good stir, if you realize that no water has been added, and look at all this juice, look at all this liquid in the pot, because the pot is sweating all that water on its own. And if you notice, the aluminum thick pot that I'm using, that is gonna give a good result with cooking this meat in the oven, because I'm not gonna be changing the pot. I'm gonna be sticking this very same pot into the oven. And look at how beautiful this looks already. So I'm just gonna cover it and let it cook, you know, brown on the other side. And then next time when I come back, I'm gonna be sticking it into the oven. All right, so here we go. Now I am just checking it now after 20 minutes, and look at that. Some of the water has been reduced, and definitely it is a much browner, richer color. And don't be fooled by it. You know, I know it looks as if it's ready to be eaten, but it's actually still hard. It's not cooked. It's just browned properly and now ready to go in the oven, which is preheated at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and it will be cooking for 1 hour, and then I'll check on it. So while the oxtail is in the oven, I'm gonna be cooking some white rice with green peas, and I'm using the rice cooker. So I've just used 3 of this purple cup of rice, and now I'm adding around 3.5 cups of the same cup of water, and I'm adding the green peas. And of course, you know, you add your salt and your butter and stir, and then I'm just gonna stick it in the rice cooker. And the rice cooker is gonna, you know, do the job. I won't have to do anything. I won't have to check it. After the rice cooker beeps, then I know the rice is done and it's gonna be cooked to perfection. So now I'm just gonna check back on the rice, and here it is, looking very fluffy, and so I know it's ready to go, and I didn't have to do anything after I close the rice cooker. So here it is, very fluffy, very soft, and now it's good to go. Now I'm checking back in on the oxtail after an hour has passed, and I've removed it from the oven, and look at it. The juice mainly has been reduced. It's all browned, and of course it's very tender. So now I'm going to be adding some fresh vegetables, some bell peppers, some onions, some tomatoes, and I'm just gonna let that simmer for a little bit, but this time I will be doing it on the stove top. So once it has been cooked in the oven for an hour, I have removed it, and now I'm just gonna finish it off on the stove top. So I did add some carrots as well, and now I am adding some water just to make the gravy. And usually you don't add cold water to your meat that is already cooking. You make sure you have some hot water handy, and that will, keep the temperature of the meat going rather than using the cold water, because that's going to throw off the taste. So just to make my gravy, I'm going to be adding some ketchup as well, just to give it some thickness. Here I'm adding some broad bean. You cannot have your oxtail without broad beans. So I'm just gonna give that a good stir. And look at the gravy. The gravy has already been formed, and the broad bean is already cooked. And before you put your broad bean in the pan, you need to wash it off, right? Because they added some chemicals to the can to preserve the beans. So you just gotta wash that off and make sure that it's good and fresh for your dishes. Alright, so here it is. The gravy is thick and the oxtail is tender, and we have all those nice vegetables in there. See, I'm testing, just giving it a test, and you see how soft that is, literally falling off the bone. So I probably let this stay for another 2 minutes, and then it's time to eat. But just to let you know that I did add a little bit more black pepper and seasoning salt and a little bit of all-purpose, just to bring up back the taste and the flavor. And now it's good to go. And now it's time for me to enjoy this beautiful, delicious jerk oxtail. If you enjoy this recipe, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe for more content like these. And if you have already subscribed, thank you for always coming back. I thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.